Welcome, everyone. This is an exciting class. Very important class in this entire series called Key to Redemption in Our Hands, in which we have already close to 90 classes. We began last spring. We've already 90 classes, which is probably about 100 hours already, or more than that, explaining how the key to redemption is in our hands. I think the redemption is already fully accessible to all of us. It's just about learning, understanding, and acting. And by doing that, we can actually manifest and bring about the full revelation of the redemption. This is episode 34, which we have spent the most classes on from all the episodes. This is class number 7. I don't think any of the other episodes had 7 classes. I know we had 6, but this is 7 classes on this important episode called The World is Holy and Ready for Moshiach. And that is not a wishful thinking, and it's not a blessing, it is fact. And this is the teaching of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. What that really means, as we're going to see today, and today we're really getting to that part. Today we're getting to the juice. Seems like I fell off. 12:13. What time is it now? 12:16. I don't even know how long ago I fell off. Okay, I don't know what did this. I did this yesterday and I did it today. Frustrating, but I guess it's a challenge. One second. This light that's shining in my face is a little too strong. I gotta give me 1 minute. A little too bright. Okay. Maybe this information is too bright. In any case, okay. So what we were saying is that the Rebbe developing in this particular talk, he's developing the idea how, as we said, he's going to tell us how the world is ready for Mashiach. But first, we need to understand, what does it mean a world is ready for Mashiach? The world is holy. The world is ready. Our physical bodies are perfectly ready to live in the godliest possible form of existence. This is really awesome. We don't need any more purifications. We don't need any more rectifications. We don't need any more polishing. Not our physical bodies, and the entire physical world is ready to receive Moshiach and ready to live the godliest life possible. For thousands of years, the physical world was not in a condition to reflect and to absorb and to live the godly life. It was not possible. We were in the stages of the work that needed to be done through separating good from evil. Thousands of years of mitzvah observance and of purifications, including all the pain and suffering that mankind endures, especially the Jewish people, and persecutions and all of that, which lend into the purification of the world. But all of that is done. The physical material world is now completely a vessel for godliness and for the greatest godliness. God can already fully manifest himself, and Moshiach can fully manifest himself in the world, and our souls can be fully turned on, fully in the body, without any restrictions, without having to hold back at all, because the body is already a vessel. So we were learning all of this in the context. In the earlier 6 classes, we were learning, he explained it in the context of 2 things. First of all, in the Torah portion, where we explain that Jacob going down to the house of to Mesopotamia, to Haran, and then later to deal with his brother Esau. It's all part of this purification process, preparing the world for Mashiach. And this is an instruction, and this is a map for Jacob. Yaakov is the microcosm, and this is a map for the macro, for thousands of years of world history and of Jewish history, in which the main objective is the purification of the world and the achieving of this refinement. It will only be achieved when Mashiach comes. Then he also said that as we go closer to Mashiach, a lot of the talks are built on this idea. This is important to insert over here, is that there is a big picture of thousands of years, a work that is being done on a cosmic level, and then there is a more focused pre-introductory state to the redemption. In a sense, we can say from the beginning of time, we're doing the work towards the redemption. That's a broader perspective on all of Judaism and all of the time leading up to Mashiach. But then there is a particular period of time which is the segue to the redemption, and that is the Rebbe teaches us the coming of the Baal Shem Tov, the spreading of Hasidism, the work of the 7 Chabad generations of Chabad Rebbes, preparing the world through the revelation of Hasidic teachings to the world. That's like the final introduction to Mashiach. So he explained how unification of body and soul is seen in the Parsha, in the Torah portion, on a larger scale, in terms of world history. And then he goes to explain how we're in the last and final preparation before the redemption. It becomes so much more focused and intense in the last 200 years in Hasidism. And he shows it to us in the life of the Mittler Rebbe, the second Chabad Rebbe. You can listen to class number 6 and class number 1. We discussed primarily this idea that by the Mittler Rebbe, we see fusion of the highest, deepest, godliest ideas, fully comprehensible in the human mind. His teachings are the deepest, but yet fully anchored in and made accessible for the intelligence, not only of the soul, but even of the more human side, more, and even our animal consciousness, and even more, the teachings are brought down so much that we can actually spread it to the Gentile world as well. But by the Mittler Rebbe, he says it's mainly Bina, it's the anchoring it down into fully our understanding. And as we discussed yesterday, it manifests itself in that the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Chabad Rebbe, said about his predecessor, the Mittler Rebbe, that if you cut his finger, blood wouldn't come out, Chasidus would come out, divine teachings would come out, which means that that the soul and body are completely merged. The physicality of the body is also become already spiritual and godly. And also reflected in the idea that the perfection of his spiritual life was also realized in the perfection of his life, in physical life, is that he lived perfect years. He passed away on the day of his birthday, so all of his physical life was one reflection of his spiritual perfection, manifesting also in time and space, because that's the ultimate. Now, since the Mittler Rebbe already had achieved this, and it's similar to Moses, to Moshe, it's almost like what the Rebbe, not almost like, the Rebbe is basically saying, is that that's basically an indicator. That's what it is. It's an indicator to all of us that we're living already closer to the time when this is becoming in reach of all of us to make this the truths of our soul, the knowledge of our soul, to make it our reality of our body as well. However, even though the Mittler Rebbe achieved it, he's the leader of the generation, he's the big tzaddik, there's still a big gap between him and ordinary people. And that's where the Rebbe is going to pick up over here in chapter 18, where he's going to say, now that we're standing already 5 generations, or the 6th generation from the Mittler Rebbe, we're talking about the Rebbe's generation. It's already, you have already the next Rebbe, the 3rd Chabad Rebbe, the 4th Chabad Rebbe, the 5th Chabad Rebbe, the 6th, and the Rebbe is the 7th. So we're already so many years afterwards. Now we've brought it down even more and even more and even more and even more. Earth has become so saturated with godliness. You're all ready to live in that godly existence like the Mittler Rebbe in his body. That's Moshiach. When we're all infused, saturated with divine truths of Hasidism to the point that it becomes the nature of our body, that's it. Let's read over here in chapter 18. Now, I'm telling you right now, what he says in chapter 18 is one of the most mind-blowing things that has ever been said. And listen to what the Rebbe says. I'm going to try to stick to because this is so important, I'm going to try to stick to the words as much as I can. Later, I am going to give some commentary, hopefully to explain, but all the above mentioned is applicable and is important to the Jewish people throughout all the generations. In other words, the objective is to make the physical holy, and you could accomplish it ultimately to the fullest. You learn it from Jacob, you learn it from the Mittler Rebbe. How much more? So it's applicable in all generations. However, how much more so in our generation and in our times? That according to all the signs of our sages, where in Tractate Sanhedrin, in the Talmud, Tractate Sanhedrin, and in the Midrash, in many places, what he's referring to is that there are certain passages amongst our sages which give us clues to see if we're living in the Messianic era. So the Rebbe is already telling us in 1992 that actually at that time when the Rebbe said it was still the end of 1991. This is like November of 19, late November, close to beginning of December of 1991. So the Rebbe is saying that based on everything it says in the Talmud, in the Midrash, already 30 years ago, we are already, which are pointing that this is Messianic times already. Here there's a very strong statement. He says, we are actually now standing already, in the words it uses in this book over here, Bishlav Haga'ula Mamish. Translate that in English, in the phase of the redemption, literally in the phase of the redemption. So what I find interesting over here, I didn't do a thorough check, but what I find interesting over here, usually the Rebbe says we're holding at the last seconds of the exile and we're getting close, we're starting already. Here he doesn't even speak about it's the end of the exile. It doesn't even mention that. He says we're holding over here at the phase, literally, of the redemption. And he uses the word literally. That means we are literally at the phase of the redemption. Doesn't even say the early stage. He says we are at the phase of the redemption. Now I'll stop right over here. Imagine 30 years later, we didn't go backwards. We're actually farther in. How can it still be dark? That's a good question. But we are in the phase of the redemption. And like it has been spoken about recently, now he's going to add explanation to this idea that we're at the phase of the redemption. He says, based on what? That as we have spoken about recently in the earlier talks, that after the abundant work of all of our work, meaning all the work of all of history, all of our service, divine worship and service, accumulated through all the generations, and specifically, that's in general, all the work of all the generations of labor and toil of the Jewish people in Torah and mitzvot, right? And everything else that has been done. But then the Rebbe adds specifically, there were the tzaddikim that were sent down to the world to prepare the world for Moshiach, particularly. In other words, they were sent down as to roll out the carpet for Moshiach, to be the ones who are actually doing the closers who close it. Like in the end of a game, you have those who close the closing pitcher. So those who were sent down to do the completion work, who are they? After the work of our masters, our leaders, referring to the Hasidic masters, Rabbi Seinu Nisienu, starting from the Baal Shem Tov, beginning, and Rebbe specifies, the fathers of the Hasidic movement, their lives, their work, and their holidays. Because the events that happened in their lives, including the days of their redemption, which helped powerful energies of redemption be released into the world. So now that we have that already in the past, which days are we referring to? The 19th of Kislev and the 10th day of Kislev, which are 2 days of redemption. One referring to the first Chabad Rebbe, the 19th of Kislev, when he was released of prison. The next one, the second generation of Dvar, his son, who was released from prison on the 10th of Kislev. These are 2 powerful days that hasten the redemption, that push Mashiach energy, including their birthdays and their days of passing. These all days are powerful energies. On the 9th of Kislev and on the 24th day of Teves, actually coming up this week, 24th day of Teves. Okay, so we have all of that. And since these events, which happened about 200 years ago, we've already passed many generations and many years, including the service of my saintly father-in-law, the leader of the generation. And here the Rebbe drops the first bomb. He says, we've already finished refining the world. Now, some people listening to you might say, okay, I heard that. But to many, this might be new. You see, according to the Kabbalistic view, the purpose from day one of creation, from after the sin of the tree of knowledge, and definitely from Abraham, when Abraham is sent on his mission to go to the promised land, where Judaism begins. and definitely from when the Torah was given. Okay? These are different phases. The work had one purpose. It's called avodas habirurim, the work of refining the world. There's a mixture of good and bad, and we have to refine, separate the bad through refraining from doing bad things, and through pain and suffering. We extract the evil and the bad. And through the positive things we do, the mitzvahs that we do, we extract the good, we reveal the good, we purify the world. This act of purification and refinement, this has been the act from all of history until Moshiach comes. When Moshiach arrives, what's Moshiach's arrival? Is that the work was done. So the Rebbe announces, this is the first time he announced it. That's why I'm saying the Rebbe continued to insist on this in the next few talks. Parshas Vayeitzei was the first time he mentioned it, this talk. The following week, Parshas Vayishlach, he mentions it again. Parshas Shemos, he mentions it again. Yutas Kislev, he mentions it again. Parshas Bo, he mentions it again. Parshas Vayigash, he mentions it again. So there's about 5 or 6 times in the month of Kislev and Teves, November, December, maybe the beginning of January of the year the end of 1991 into 1992, where the Rebbe made one of the most astonishing announcements. And that is that we finished refining the world. Now, let's understand something. It's probably second to the most astonishing. The first astonishing announcement was stated in the talks leading up to this talk. See, we have to read these talks in sequence. The talks leading up, which I explained in the earlier episodes, which we studied in the earlier episodes, during the month of Cheshvan and the month of Kislev, which is earlier, I would say October, November of 1991, the Rebbe says that Moshiach is already revealed in the world. That was the first bomb. Moshiach is already here and he's revealed. Now he says the world is already fully refined, cleansed, and purified. We finished the work of elevating sparks. Finito. It's done. We don't need to refine the world anymore. Now you'll say, what do you mean? What does that include? Everything? The Rebbe says, everything. Yes, beginning with our own bodies. We're soon going to see that. Beginning with our own bodies. Our bodies don't need refinement anymore. Most of us are insisting that our bodies are not ready. How do we know we're insisting our bodies are not ready? Because we are terrified to start living like tzaddikim. We are terrified to allow ourselves to treat our bodies like our bodies are sacred. We continue to insist that our bodies are lowly and dark and ugly, and therefore we can do all kinds of stuff with them. We can treat our body like it's trash. But the Rebbe is saying it's not true. It's because you haven't caught up with your body. Your mind hasn't caught up with the condition of the world. Our. It hasn't clicked in your own head what I am telling you. I'm telling you that your body is sacred. It's clean already. Not because you're such a tzaddik, but because of the condition of the physical world in the last work that was done for the last 3,000 years. You don't have to peck at it anymore to remove the darkness. There's nothing dark inherently in your body. So therefore what? Start using your body to fully express your soul. And make sure that your body is not used for anything else but the godly life that you're meant to live. Live the life like Adam is supposed to live in the Garden of Eden before the evil inclination ever set its way in, where it started dragging the body into non-godly things. We are now ready to live the perfect godly life. This is stunning. Now, do we have a choice still to treat our bodies like trash? Yes. Now, when Moshiach will be here in a way that everybody can see him, where there's no more hiding, now we're in an interesting state where we can possibly keep our eyes shut. But there's going to be a time very soon when our eyes are going to be forced open, and we're going to see redemption, and the whole world will see redemption. Then we won't be able to use our bodies anymore in an ungodly way. it will be obvious that our bodies are ready to live fully one with our soul. And we're all going to be perfectly righteous. We're never going to sin. And we're only going to, and every physical activity is going to be performed with absolute godly consciousness and mindfulness and in a complete state of holiness. That's going to be then. Now, the Rebbe says, it is that way already. It's just you have to trust me that is. I'm telling you that that's what it is. But the Rebbe doesn't only, it's not only our bodies. He says also the Gentile world, the world outside. Don't believe the media. Don't believe the garbage they're trying to sell you about how dark the world is, how ungodly the world is. That's not true. I'm not making this up. That's why I'm so excited about this talk. Obviously, this needs commentary. So then how come the world looks like it looks? Okay, so we have to talk about that. But first, let's hear what the Rebbe is saying about this world. So he says, this includes as well, including the rectification of Esav. Esau has already been rectified. Esav hu Edom. Now, and the Rebbe makes like this. And how do we know this? Because if in the days of Jacob, before we even began the work, Jacob thought that Esav was already fixed. And that's why he sent messengers to him and said, hey, let's go hand in hand. Give me your hand. Let's go together to the redemption. But in truth, Esav was not ready yet for that. Although the Rebbe says Yaakov didn't make a mistake, from the level of, this needs commentary. From the level of Jacob, where Jacob was, as he was tuning into, on the high level that Jacob was, where he was tuning into Esav's soul, Esav was ready. But where Esav was standing down here in this world, Esav was not ready. But Yaakov thought he was ready, right? So if that was already the case in the days of Jacob, how much more so after the abundance of work that we've done since then? Esau, let me read the words. Kvar nizbarer legamre. Esau is completely fixed. Who is Esau? Esau is considered over here the root of all the nations. All of the nations, all of humanity, all of the world is fixed already. And like we see, now the Rebbe is going to give proof to this. We see that in the last years, meaning in the 20th century, and going into the 21st century, we see a tremendous shift in the behavior of the Gentile world. And it used to be that the world, people, governments were far more cruel, and governments took advantage. The strong took advantage of the weak, oppressed them. People, the ordinary citizen and ordinary person did not have any respect. The mighty and the powerful trampled on other people, enslaved them, gave them all kinds of hardships, used them for their own self-aggrandizement and their own selfish empowerments. That's the way it was for thousands of years of oppression. People that had power inflicted unmeasurable amount of suffering on millions and millions of people across the entire world. And the Rebbe says, take a look at humanity shifting. Take a look at the world today. Primarily, the Rebbe was a very, very, very big fan of the United States of America, in which you have a government, a nation that's based on kindness, respects people, gives people the dignity, gives people, we give freedom to people and kindness. And as the Rebbe pointed out, I'm going to make reference to has been discussed in other talks earlier in this year, where the Rebbe, for instance, brings an example how the United States uses its military to distribute food in Africa to countries that are suffering from civil war. And the United States was doing, in those days, in 1990, major food drops, I think in Rwanda, to feed millions of people. And the Rebbe says never in the world history did that happen, that a country used its military power to go feed people. The Rebbe says that is an indication that the human psyche has already been rectified. And the Rebbe says the United States is a leader. Many other countries are following in this path of being sensitive and caring and giving and compassionate and generous. This is a complete different type of human being that we've known in the past, that whoever had power took advantage of other people. But here we're watching a complete metamorphosis of mankind. Now, does this mean everybody? Well, Kim Jong-un, he's still lagging behind, of course. Putin, maybe. Others as well, who are still power hungry. And as a result of that, willing to wreak havoc on other people's lives just for their own selfish state. Possible. But you see the direction of humanity. You see where millions of people already have a complete different shift in their understanding and of how we ought to live in this world. That means that mankind is ready for higher enlightenment. Doesn't mean that everybody is conscious of God, but there is an intrinsic refinement. And if you will teach them, there is a vessel. There is already a person who 90% of what he needs to know, he knows already, in the sense that he knows he has to live a decent, caring life and he has to care about other people. He knows he has to help other people. He or she has to help other people, has to be a source of blessing to other people. If you have, give and share. This is a complete change in the inherent darkness of the human spirit of deep selfishness and cruelty. Of course, now we need some clarity. Moshiach will come and will clarify. We'll teach people what it's all about. We'll give people a teaching, the understanding of God and a creator and a purpose. But you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with people who are behaving like animals. This is a refinement. And the Rebbe says this is a direct result of thousands of years of purification in which the physical world has become already holy and refined. Let's read it inside. Here is his analysis, final statement about the world. Not final, but in this talk. So it's understood, hear these words. I'm translating. That now we are finding ourselves already in a situation where the physical body, our physical bodies, and not just our own Jewish physical bodies, but even the physicality of the world has already been refined and completely purified. They are already a vessel. Arehem kli. They're already a vessel. They already are able to facilitate. Hear these words. Muchan, a prepared vessel to all the lights and all spiritual content. The physical world is no more a block on spirituality and on godly lights. No, the physical world is already polished and refined, can receive already all the lights and all spiritual aspects, including the highest light, as we're going to see in a minute, and primarily the highest light. Which light are we talking about? What's the highest enlightenment, the highest spiritual light? That's the light. The world is already ready to receive the light of the righteous Mashiach. Unbelievable. The light of the true and perfect redemption. Mashiach, there's Mashiach and there's the redemption. So the light of Mashiach himself and the incredible godly light that Mashiach will bring, which will bring about the redemption, the world is ready to receive already that light. And even deeper than that, even deeper than light, God Almighty is ready to move into this world. And that's what he adds now. Not just the light of God, not just illumination and radiance of Hashem, but Hashem's very essence is ready to fully dwell in this world. The Adgam and up and including Legilui Pshitas Atzmus, to the revelation of the simplicity of the essence, which is higher than all lights, the essence of God. Shal atzmus mahus yizbarach, of God's very, very quintessence. This is crazy, that the entire physical world is ready to receive that which was once barely receivable in the Holy of Holies, in the Temple Mount. Now the entire world is ready to receive God's essence. Now, how is God's essence revealed to the world? So the Rebbe gives the pathway. The path is as follows. The essence of God reveals itself in the essence of Moshiach's soul, because Moshiach is plugged into the essence of God. So in the essence of Moshiach, when Moshiach will be revealed, in his soul will be present the essence of Hashem as he reveals himself in the essence of Mashiach's soul. And being that all the souls of Israel are plugged into Mashiach, he is the soul of all souls. So via him, the essence of God is ready to fully manifest inside each and every one of us, inside our bodies. So therefore, our bodies are fully ready now to receive the essence of God via Mashiach, who is going to unplug. And the Rebbe said already, Mashiach's essence is already revealed in the world. Now, we might have thought, okay, Mashiach's essence is revealed, but it's being blocked because the world is still an obstacle. The physical, material world is still so dark. It's still so ugly. It's still unrefined. It's blocking. The Rebbe says it's not blocking anymore. We've polished. We've cleansed. Everything is ready to reflect the light. The diamond has already been cleaned. It can now radiate the light that can shine perfectly through it. And through every single one of us. The world is ready and our bodies are ready for the greatest sanctity and the greatest holiness. So what's lacking? We say nothing is lacking. The only thing that's still necessary, and he adds that a Jew, who's the Jew? Every single one of us. That the Jew should open up his eyes the way he should. That means we need to open up our eyes. We need to make ourselves aware of this. We should look, we should pop our eyes open. And we should see how everything is already, everything is prepared for the redemption. And the Rebbe is going to use over here, again, this is the first time he uses this phrase, but he's going to repeat this phrase again and again in various different forms over the next few talks that he gives over the next few weeks. Phenomenal idea. That what? That we have to just open our eyes and see how everything is already ready for the redemption. And he's going to use what the Talmud says is going to happen during the time of the redemption. During the time of the redemption, it says there was going to be a big feast. And during that feast, we're going to sit at the table with all the great tzaddikim, whatever, with Mashiach. And they're going to serve this big fish. The food by this meal is going to be this big fish called the Leviathan fish. It's a ginormous fish. And there is also going to be meat there from a wild ox called Shar Habor, huge ox. And there's also going to be wine, ancient wine, that is sitting already in a special preserved barrel, aged from the 6 days of creation. The sages talk about this meal. The Rebbe insists in many places that this is talking about a physical meal. Yes, there will be a physical meal with all these delicacies that God is preparing. Amazing. Obviously, it also has a lot of spiritual meaning, higher and higher and higher. So the Rebbe says, the only thing that's necessary right now is for all the Jewish people to open up their eyes and to realize that we are already sitting at that table. We're already at the party. We're sitting at the table. First of all, he doesn't say we're sitting. First he says, we have already the set table. The table is set already. I want to stick to the words of the Rebbe. He says we have the set table. We have already the Leviathan fish. We have already the meat, the big ox. We have already the preserved wine, the aged wine. Now, the Jewish people are already sitting around the table. It's not like there was just a table there. We have to look and see the table. We are already sitting at the table. Whose table is it? Our Father's table. Who's our Father? God. And the Rebbe explains, the King of all kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God Almighty himself, King of the universe. We are at his royal banquet table. He's preparing the great feast of the redemption, the feast of all feasts. It's not he's preparing it. It's prepared already. Who else is with us at the table? Together with Moshiach Tzedkenu, together with the righteous Moshiach. Like it says in books, Rebbe, I'm quoting the Rebbe, like it says in books, that in every generation there is someone who is worthy to be Moshiach. And in our generation, this is my saintly father-in-law. So as we have him already. Moshiach is, we know who he is. We know he's a specific person in our generation that we can point to with our finger. We know who he is. Since we're already at the time when everything is finished, we are already sitting at the table with the whole feast, with the fish, the meat, the wine, and we're sitting at the table with Moshiach Tzedkenu already. Didn't say we started eating yet, but he says we're at the table already. All this is what we need to open our eyes and start seeing this reality. Now you might say, oh, for that, I need to get myself a new pair of eyes. These eyes that I've been looking through, these are exile eyes. For 2,000 years, we've been sitting and looking at the world through the eyes of exile. So I need new eyes. If I have to hear it, I need new ears. I need a new pair of eyes and a new pair of ears. Maybe I even need a new heart. God says in the time of the redemption, I will give you a new heart. So maybe we need a new heart to feel this, to experience this. The Rebbe says, he adds, he says, after 40 years, what does he mean 40 years? 40 years since my father-in-law's passing. So the Rebbe is referring to his own leadership, that he's Rebbe now for 40 years, because in 1991, 92, the Rebbe was already Rebbe for 40 years. So the Rebbe says, now that we're already here after 40 years of the saintly past of my saintly father-in-law passing away, and we're sitting already with Moshiach all this time, the sages say that a person does not have the eyes and the ears and the heart to know their teacher until 40 years. We derive it from Moshe. The Moshe says to the Jewish people, after 40 years, God gave you the eyes and the ears and the heart to know, to see, and to hear. So you see from here that till you don't study with your teacher for 40 years, you don't really get him. The Rebbe said, since we are already learning, we're studying, I'm sitting with you already for 40 years, you have already I gave you the eyes. You have already the Mashiach eyes. You have already the Mashiach ears. You have already the Mashiach heart. You have it already to see everything I mentioned, that we are already at the table with Mashiach, by God's table, with the fish, with the meat, with all the delicacies, with the wine. Everything is there. We're at the table already. And you even have the heart. You have the eyes and you have the ears. So what is necessary? At this time, I'm continuing what he says, just stop keeping those eyes shut. If you have those holy eyes already, I'm asking you, the Rebbe says, open up those eyes. Now the only thing that we need is that we should open the heart that knows, and just open the heart. You know it already. Just open it up into your consciousness, meaning pay attention to this holy heart. Open up your eyes that you have already. You have those eyes. Open them up and open your ears to hear. Heart, eyes, and ears, the Rebbe says, is not only those limbs. It includes all your 248 limbs and all your 365 arteries, which means your entire body. It's time already that you should utilize your body to start becoming aware of the godly state that the body is in, and therefore start living like Mashiach is here, which means a purely godly life, in the words of the Rebbe. In addition to learning Torah and doing mitzvahs in general, which is what you do with your body and you use your head for, the 248 positive commandments corresponding to the 248 limbs of the body, 365 prohibitions that we don't do, corresponding to the 365 arteries and blood vessels. But in addition to studying Torah in general, to study the deepest secrets of the Torah, treat your body to Moshiach's light. What's going to happen when Moshiach comes? The deepest secrets are going to be revealed. So fill your brain now. Don't look at your brain and say, my brain is not ready. Your brain is ready. Your physical gray matter of your brain is ready for the deepest, godliest secrets that were revealed to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Now your head can do it. Everybody's head can do it. There is no head that is impure, that is not ready. Every head, every brain, every limb, learn the inner light of the Torah like it has been revealed in the teachings of Chassidus, fulfilling the directives of our Rebbes, of the Chabad Rebbes, which are the energies of Mashiach, the teachings of Mashiach, which includes also learning about the redemption, not just learning Chassidus in general, but learning about the redemption in a manner that this will help. The more we learn about it, it will help increase the opening of our heart. It will help increase opening our eyes and our ears, that we should understand and that we should see and that we should hear in the literal sense, in the physical world, the complete redemption that's here already. And we should use all these limbs to study the Torah of Mashiach, which is the inner teachings of the Torah in a manner of vision. One of the things that's going to happen when Mashiach comes is that we'll see. We won't only hear, we will see it. All of this is already existence, the Rebbe says. Now we just need to open ourselves up and we will see it. I'll stop over here before we continue. So what did the Rebbe, to summarize? The Rebbe basically made an amazing declaration. He says the Jewish people need to know, and the instructions, that the work that we've been doing until now is done. You've completed your work. Project completed. Task completed. Refinement of the world completed. So if you're going to continue being busy or refining yourself, it's useless work. The Rebbe once said that if you polish buttons too long, you actually ruin the buttons. It's clean already. Nothing needs to be. Obviously, does that mean that no one sins and no one has dirt? It's external. You can remove it like nothing. Start believing that your body is holy. Start believing that you're as holy today as you're going to be when Mashiach is here, literally, and because Mashiach is here. That's the thing, because he is here. It's just that it's not fully revealed. Now there is work for us to start studying and learning what does it mean to live in Mashiach's life and actually start living it. And you will see that your body's going along with it. You'll see that you have the capabilities to be a tzaddik, to live in this godly existence. We all have this because we're there already. It's amazing. And that the world is ready. I dare to say, we have to ask ourselves, who believes the Rebbe? Who believes what the Rebbe says? If we believe what the Rebbe says, we would actually become completely metamorphosized, completely different people. So let's start today. This didn't change. Nothing reverted back. Those who think that because the Rebbe seemed, left the world, or physically seems to have left the world on the 3rd of Tammuz in 1994, maybe these things are not true, God forbid. The Rebbe is not giving blessings. The Rebbe is not pushing. The Rebbe is stating the fact. He's telling us the reality. The world is purified. Now you'll say, well, come on, it doesn't look like to me. I always ask this question. The whole idea of refinement means to elevate a spark. How do I know there is sparks? I never saw a spark. I don't know what a divine spark looks like. I didn't see it. I've never seen sparks of holiness. I don't know what they look like. How do I know there are sparks? Because the Ari, the holy Rebbe Yitzchak Luria, Rebbe Isaac Luria, who's the chief Kabbalist, taught us that. He's the leader of the Jewish people in his days, 400 years ago. He was the great, and we all the Jewish people accepted what he said because everybody knew he was an unparalleled tzaddik, and he told us about sparks, and that's when it became kind of the knowledge of the Jewish people that there are sparks of holiness. That means there were sparks earlier, but no one really identified that there are sparks of holiness. Maybe some people knew about it, but it wasn't a common theme. About from 400, 500 years ago, we started with the Kabbalistic concept, sparks of holiness, and that's how I know there are sparks. So how am I supposed to know when we're finished elevating sparks if I can't see the sparks? The only way I can know that is I need to hear from someone who could see sparks. Who can see a spark? A Rebbe. Someone who is a godly person, a divine being in this world. That's what a Rebbe is. A Rebbe is an extension of divinity in the world. I'm not making that up. We've given other classes about it, and the Rebbe himself says it. They have different eyes, so they can see what we can't see. So the Rebbe says, we finished. Now the Rebbe says, okay, so open your eyes. Now, we don't have to see sparks yet. He's not telling us to open our eyes and see sparks that everywhere. What he's telling us is to start opening our eyes and realizing that the old truths, resistances, blockages that were in the world for thousands of years, in our own bodies and in the greater world, that were concealing and obscuring God's light from coming here, these things don't exist anymore. And if we're still holding on to them, we're only holding on to them in our own heads, in our own imagination. It's not really there. The physical is willing to go and join the spiritual. Your body is ready to be as sacred as your soul, as godly as your soul. Stop imagining your body like it once was. It's not nice. Someone has an injury, and they look, and they don't look, not, and they have, and therefore they have an ugly appearance because of this injury. And the injury, and they go through cosmetics, and they go through cosmetic surgery, they go through plastic surgery, and now but a plastic surgeon did a wonderful job. Or they go through natural healing. Let's not talk about plastic surgery. Talk about real therapeutic healing, and now their body is back, their flesh and their skin is like a child, back to their original state. Beautiful. Is it nice to keep on calling them disfigured and disformed? Look them in the face, say, oh, you're so ugly because you have a scar. I don't have a scar anymore. The body doesn't have a scar that it has for thousands of years. The physical was damaged goods because since the sin of the tree of knowledge, the physical world became damaged. Now it's not damaged anymore because we repaired it. Through the mitzvahs, we caused a regrowth. The physical world is not damaged anymore. So we can start living it purely in synchronization and in pure holiness like the soul. So the Rebbe says, give it a try. And we say no. Oh, we don't know what the Rebbe said. Everybody in Lubavitch, it's a disgrace. This is the biggest shanda in the world. Speak to all the big thinkers in Lubavitch, the biggest, like the big speakers, the big thinkers. Oh, we don't know what the Rebbe was talking about. What do you mean you don't know? Learn and you'll know. What do you mean you don't know? He said what he meant, and he meant what he said. He's saying our bodies are refined and elevated. All he's saying is start believing me and start treating your body. And when you'll start treating your body that way, you'll see that your body is compliant with your soul, that your body is ready to live a godlier existence. Let's stop insisting that it's not this way and that we don't understand what the Rebbe said. This is true. The physical is repaired. The physical is rectified. And the outside world is also holy. Now, when you have a repaired world and a repaired body, but you continue to treat it as if it's injured and damaged, I'm sure it's not good. It's very unhealthy for everybody. And what makes it even worse? It's unnecessary suffering. You go to the doctor if you have an infection, and the doctor prescribes certain medication. And he gives you the medication to take for 10 days. And you take your medication. You go back to the doctor, and you take a blood test. And the doctor says the blood came back clean. and you insist that you still have to continue taking the medication, you're not helping your body. You're damaging your body. So the insistence that we have that the world is not pure and not holy and that we're not ready for Moshiach and with all the cuckoo-ness that we're still insisting, that is not healthy. That is dangerous. Who knows if the mess we're in right now with the world being so is because we're overly medicated. We have to stop with this medication. We have to start living Moshiach. Now, I want to add just a bit of explanation over here on the idea that the Rebbe says that we're sitting already and we have to open our eyes. We're sitting by the table. So what does the Rebbe want? What does he mean? We have to open our eyes and see that we're sitting already at the table with God, by Hashem's table, with Hashem, with Moshiach, and we have already the fish and the meat. What's that all about? What do you mean? I'm here in Los Angeles. You are wherever you are in the world. Where's the table? What are we sitting by? I'm hungry. Where's the fish? Where's the meat? Where's the beef? Right? Where's the beef? What is he talking about? Where's the roast? What do you mean? We open your eyes and see. So that's what maybe throws people off. Open your eyes and see. What do you mean? And therefore, the Rebbe must be speaking spiritual on some mysterious level. You see the sickness over here, and I'm calling it a sickness because it's nothing less than a sickness. And sadly, it has affected the entire, but so many people are stuck. It's because we're lazy to figure it out. We're lazy to actually think about it and study this. I want to ask everybody in Chabad, particularly this question. Now, the Alter Rebbe gave us the book of Tanya. Tanya is divine wisdom. It's not meant for a human mind. And yet, the Alter Rebbe did give us the book and said, listen here, I'm giving you this book, and you could study it, and you could understand it. But you think it was just like this, everybody understood Tanya? You know how many commentary and explanations there is on Tanya? Because we sat for 200 years, and we probed the book. And we have so many different classes. Everybody teaches it. And we based on the explanations from this one and from that one and from that one. And we can figure out what we can figure out. No one understands the Tanya like Tanya we've been taught. No one can understand it to the full depth. But we can learn it and understand it and apply it. So why did we decide that when the Rebbe said things that initially seems to be very intense, and the Rebbe himself calls these the lights of Mashiach are the lights of Tohu, the lights of intense lights. And because on the first read, when we try reading it, it's mind blowing, and we don't always we sometimes can't match up what the Rebbe is saying with the actual reality outside because we have questions. So since when is the answer? Oh, this is too spiritual. This is too high. We don't know. Let's shut this. Let's not learn this. Let's learn from the Rebbe what we understand. Are we insane? Have we lost our... Like how in the world? The Rebbe is talking week after week. He's talking to his Hasidim, giving us the final instructions for us, for our generation. And literally, this is ignored. Why is it ignored? We don't understand. What does it mean? I have so many people say this to me. What does it mean we're sitting by the table with the love of Yishlas? And because we don't understand. So take the whole thing, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, it's crazy. First of all, there's no bathwater. Every word is holy and it's meant for us to learn. So let's learn it again and again and again and again and figure it out. Am I the only one? I'm going to try. I make an attempt. But I call on all the big leaders of Chabad and all the big teachers, teaching Tanya, teaching everything else. Teach this to us. You're smarter than me. You have a much better grasp of Hasidus. Read these sikhs and teach them. Teach them to the Hasidim. Teach them to the world. This is what we need to be teaching now. Because this is what the Rebbe told us in the end. as a directive to our generation. So you have to teach it to us. I also want to learn. I understand it with my limited understanding. There are much bigger thinkers than me. I'm asking the big thinkers, share, teach. Don't tell us, oh, we don't know what he's saying. That's horrible. Okay, but let me give you a little bit of an understanding, which I didn't take myself. Thank God, there is a chassid in Eretz Yisrael. His name is Wolf. So it's nice that his name is Wolf. We both teach a lot about Moshiach, but he's really brilliant. And he wrote a brilliant book in Hebrew only called Inyonei Shel Moshiach. Phenomenal book. It inspired me and it turned on my Moshiach energy and fever to a feverish pitch when I learned it. And I recommend everybody read it. Those who can understand Hebrew and understand the book. Inyonei Shel Moshiach. It's a black book, so thick. Phenomenal. So he explains this little passage over here and he says like this. This is important. There's two ways of trying to explain this. There's a more simple way. What does the Rebbe mean when he says we're sitting by the table already? In general, we can say the Rebbe says basically we're living in an era of Mashiach. And therefore, look around the world and start seeing the fruits of Mashiach already in the world. Start seeing in the world that the world is improving. The world is becoming a godlier, more refined, more godly sensitive place. Like the certain trends in the world, which are very godly, which the Rebbe wants us to focus and start seeing Mashiach elements in the world. Now that too is a great thing. I'm not saying that he doesn't leave it by this. He says that would be an explanation. But and that takes a lot of work, because when you look at the world, since we're living in a time of the end of exile and the beginning of redemption, they're overlapping each other. So, and if we're looking with our exile eyes, we see just darkness. So it's possible to live in our world and only see the dark things that are happening. And I meet a lot of people, even if they get excited about Mashiach, they still can't see the good in the world. They still only focus on all the dark things. They're always sending me videos about all the terrible things that are happening, and see this and see that and see that. And we can focus on that. And it's not saying it's not true that there aren't dark things. The Rebbe himself says that as we're getting into Mashiach, the evil that's left over, the little tiny bit, is pumping out all of its venom. It's shooting out whatever it can. It's spewing its darkness. So if you want to see that, you can see that. And it's possible for a person to get caught up in the snake, in the snake energy. So the Rebbe is saying, you should see, Mashiach is pumping energy into this world as well. Mashiach is transforming the world. Look and start seeing the Mashiach developments in the world, which are awesome. That's one way of looking at it. Start getting Mashiach eyes. That's what he means, open your eyes. But here's a little bit of a deeper explanation that he gives, and I really think it's phenomenal. He says it's interesting. When the Rebbe says that Moshiach is here already, he always points to the same things. We're sitting at a table with God and at God's table with Moshiach, Tzedkenu, with Moshiach himself, and we're sitting with the fish, the meat, and the wine. And he repeats the same thing a few times. What he doesn't say is open your eyes and you will see the resurrection of the dead. When Mashiach comes, we know that the dead are going to be resurrected. He doesn't say open your eyes and you'll see the resurrection of the dead. He doesn't say open your eyes and see the third temple. The Rebbe never said open your eyes and you see the third temple. When Mashiach comes, there'll be the third temple. He doesn't say open your eyes and you'll see the gathering of the exiles, that everybody's already in Jerusalem. Everybody's in Israel, all the Jewish people. He doesn't say that. So why does he say only these things? We're at the table with God, with Mashiach, with the fish and the meat. And couldn't he be a little bit more creative and say, we are also, open your eyes and see the temple, open your eyes and see the dead people are alive already? He doesn't say that. And he gives a brilliant answer. Again, credits to Rabbi Shalom Doiv Ber Wolf from Israel. He says all the things the Rebbe is saying that we should open our eyes and see are all things that exist in reality already all the time. Now, these are not new things that are going to happen when Moshiach comes. Meaning the fact that we sit at God's table, that's not going to happen when Moshiach comes. Sitting at God's table means you're close to God. Exile is a time that we're far from God. Sitting at God's tables means we're home in our Father's living room. Now, in truth, we are home in our Father's living room even during the time of exile because the Jew's soul is always deeply connected to God. Our souls are always unified with God. It's only in exile we can't feel it. So we feel like we're far. But the truth that we are sitting with God all the time, the Rebbe actually says that sitting at God's tables means that the soul is one with God. Now, the soul being one with God is a truth that always is. It's not dependent on redemption. It's not only when Mashiach comes, our souls will become one with God. Then we will feel that we are one with God. But the reality that our souls are one with God is a fact. It's a fact always. It's just that in the exile, we don't feel it. So again, the fact that there is a table, that we're sitting at God's table, is a truth that is already now. It always was. Next, Moshiach, that Moshiach is sitting with us. The Rebbe explains many times, and in these talks, that there is always a Moshiach together with the Jewish people. The Jewish people are never Moshiachless. There is always somebody who is Moshiach in the generation. He's Moshiach. The soul of Moshiach is always present in the world. It's always in a tzaddik. It's only that in the time when Mashiach comes, we will see the Mashiach. We will know that he is Mashiach and we'll be connected to him. But the fact that we're sitting with Mashiach is a constant. It always is. It's not a new thing that will happen in the future. The fish. The sages tell us that God already prepared this fish. In the 6 days of creation, God went fishing and he himself caught these two fish that are called the Leviathan, a male and a female. And God could have said, this fish is a huge fish. This is meant for the main meal, but God didn't want them to procreate, because if they'll procreate, the world couldn't stand for such big creatures. So God fished out the female and he killed her and he salted her. She's been smoked fish. I don't know what he's going to make, sushi. I'm not sure exactly what this fish is going to be, but it's been prepared. The male is still alive, but the female is been smoked. Which means that the fish has been around all along. It's just that it's hidden from us, but it's here. Same as the ox, and the same as the wine. The wine, it says, is in the barrel from the 6 days of creation. So we're talking about something that's present already in the world. The wine is here, the fish is here, the meat is here. Moshiach is here, and we're sitting at God's table. So since we're talking about things that are already here, what the Rebbe is saying is now we're at a point in time that we can begin experiencing, opening our eyes, and actually start living in the reality. Let's talk about God. We are able to now already sit by God's table, which means you and God, us and God being one, which means we are, till now in the time of exile, we were not able to open up our consciousness to the level that the essence of our soul, which is one with God, should be manifest in our consciousness. And today's days, like we learned in the earlier classes, you can start living as an expression of God in this world. That's Mashiach. That's what it means. You're sitting at the table. Same as with Mashiach. There was always a Mashiach, but the Mashiach of every generation is hidden. But when Mashiach will come, and the Jewish people have always had a bond with them, as explained, this Mashiach is always the leader of the Jewish people. He's a leader, and because he has the qualities of kingship, people have a very deep bond with him. And the more this Mashiach is revealed, like from the days of the Baal Shem Tov and onward, you find that the connection of the people to him is like an enormous, powerful connection. I'm not going to go into the explanation of this concept, but this is something that we discussed in Mashiach Decoded classes, how the bond between the people and Mashiach, even when they don't know he's Mashiach, is like a crazy, essential, deep bond. Like Rebbe and Hasidim. It exists already. It's just that we don't know and we don't acknowledge it, that's Mashiach. But as the time of the redemption arrives, we will suddenly realize that the person that we've been so connected to as our leader, as our life source, he is Moshiach. And that he is our king and we're his subjects. And he's the king of the whole world. So something that exists already will now start becoming in a revealed state. So the Rebbe says that That is already now already. And the Rebbe actually identifies who it is. The Rebbe says, my father, my saintly father-in-law. As we know that when the Rebbe speaks about a saintly father-in-law, and I'm not going to go over it right now, he means his saintly father-in-law as he extends and is a continuation into the Rebbe himself. So the Rebbe is talking about himself. I am Moshiach Tzedkenu, and you're bonded with me with a very deep bond. And now you can already experience it and see it and feel it and know it. So you're sitting together with God by the table, with Moshiach. And therefore, the feast of the redemption is already here. Now, it doesn't mean that you can go over and cut yourself a piece of sushi from the fish. And don't kid yourself that that's what you can do. Because if the Rebbe said we can eat the sushi, the fish of the future, over here, we're going to have to say that on the physical level, the fish, what does that mean? In Hasidism, it explains that the fish and the meat represents various different levels of secrets of Torah. Those secrets of Torah that are the fish are accessible today that were not accessible in the past. But the main point is that all these things are things that exist already in the world. Today, we can already experience them. He doesn't say resurrection because the resurrection didn't happen yet. And the resurrection is a futuristic event. He does not say the third temple because the third temple did not descend yet from heaven. And therefore, the Rebbe is not going to tell you to open your eyes and see something that doesn't exist yet. He's not talking about the ingathering of the exiles because the ingathering of the exiles didn't happen yet. Because we would all be in Jerusalem or in Israel. We're not all there. Jews are all over the world. So the Rebbe doesn't say, open up your eyes and see that. He does say, however, to open up our eyes and to experience whatever we could experience. Okay. Now let's quickly then conclude, because I don't want to give another class on this. The Rebbe says, okay, so now what does this mean in practical? In simple words and regarding to the literal sense, since the main point that we're talking about over here is the world is ready, our bodies are ready, means that there's a complete fusion of body and soul. Physicality and spiritual are completely synchronized already. Therefore, we need to do things. Since this is a reality already, now you need to do things that reveal this, that express it. Starting with what? The Rebbe says, let me do this, I'll do briefly. Starting, the first thing is that we have to flood ourselves with Hasidic teachings. Not just learn a little Hasidism. Not make believe. Realize Mashiach is here already. After Mashiach comes, what are you going to do? You're going to study Hasidus. You're going to study the godly. That's what we're going to be doing. So don't wait till everybody in the whole world is doing it. Start doing it today. And how should you learn Hasidus? In the manner of the Mittler Rebbe. The Rebbe is celebrating which is that he spoke for Hasidus for hours and hours. Bina, full understanding. So we should learn, and the Rebbe says we should learn the Mittler Rebbe's Hasidus, so that we actually accomplish this experience of fusion of the most abstract ideas with our physical brains, with our physical minds. And it shouldn't only, and the learning should translate, just like we said before, that the learning shouldn't remain in the mind. It should become that your physical blood starts to become Hasidus, your body becomes knowledge of God. So therefore the Rebbe says, and by the way, I'm sorry, a very important point. He points out that who should learn the Mittler Rebbe's Hasidus, which is the deepest Hasidus, not just seasoned learners, everybody. Children, and he emphasizes women, because it used to be the tradition that women did not study that much Torah, and definitely not the mystical elements of Torah. The Rebbe says today's days, since this is what brings Moshiach, and this everybody, and women too, should study the Mittler Rebbe's Hasidus. And it's amazing. That's amazing today's days. And where we see how many women actually learn Hasidus today's days in a very serious way. The Rebbe says women should learn. But more than that, he says that the learning that you learn should actually come down in a very physical appearance. What does that mean? That we should express our Hasidism, all this incredible divine knowledge, and act in ways that these Hasidic truths can be visible in the physical behavior of a person. That it should be a Hasidic behavior. Obviously, a certain refinement, a certain elevation, a certain purification in the physical body. The words of the Rebbe, you should see the warmth and the energy of Yiddishkeit and Hasidishkeit, which means Judaism in general, and Hasidism should be visible to any onlooker. You should see it in the body. There shouldn't be a separation, meaning it's no more okay to say, I'm a Jew in the heart. It has to express itself in full presence of behavior on the outside, in the way we dress, in the way we act, in the way we speak, in the way we move. Everything should express the godly. In addition to this, the Rebbe says that we should make big Hasidic farbrengens, gatherings, on the Hasidic holidays, and especially on Yutas Kislev. Again, when the Rebbe spoke this, it was still before Yutas Kislev. So on the 19th of Kislev, should make these farbrengens across the entire world. And wherever there are Jews physically on the planet, so it's important that every place in the entire planet where there are Jews, there should be a farbrengen, which means a party, which should celebrate Hasidism on the day of 19th of Kislev, which was Rosh Hashanah al-Chasiz, which means that all this godly, abstract holiness is manifesting and revealing itself in the physicality of the world. Very important. So the Rebbe is asking for throwing Hasidic parties. Continue it, he says, through the entire month of Kislev, even throughout Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the same theme, taking the oil and spreading it out to the outdoors. So therefore, make Hasidic gatherings on Hanukkah. And the Rebbe is interesting. After speaking such lofty ideas, he says, have Hanukkah parties with the family and give them Hanukkah geld. Hanukkah geld is money that is accustomed to give to children. And the Rebbe says, increase, give every night Hanukkah geld, make the kids happy. So beautiful. Say, what do you mean? It's so whole. No, that's the whole thing. You use your money, you use to infuse that God is life and energy. So the kids get Hanukkah. Hanukkah presents is not such a necessarily a Jewish thing. Hanukkah money, Hanukkah geld that you give is a Jewish custom. And the Rebbe says, give a lot and give the children. And you can help them buy things and whatever. And to do that, and in addition to that, he says, we have to increase in the custom to study about Moshiach, to study about redemption, to study about Moshiach, in order to prepare ourselves and prepare others to the great revelation of the Geula. Let it be the will that from the speech and the acceptance of good resolutions regarding all of this, this should bring immediately in a revealed way the complete redemption through Moshiach to our physical eyes of every single person and to all of the Jewish people. And instantly all of Israel will fly with the clouds of the sky, like it says in Daniel. We'll go together with all of our activities that we've done, together with all of our possessions, together with the silver, together with the gold, together with all the shuls and all the yeshivas, including all the individual homes, because if we make our homes into a place where we study Torah and do mitzvahs, then the homes become a little sanctuary. And the Rebbe says, we will take all of that. Those people that are scared, we will go to Israel. What's going to be with my real estate? What's going to be with my mansion? What's going to be with my house? What's going to be with my... The Rebbe says, no. It's all coming along. He actually adds, like in a funny statement, he says, that's why people will be willing to go willfully, because they'll realize they're not leaving anything behind. Everything coming along. We're all going with all that we own and with all the goodness. We're all traveling to Israel and to the ultimate revelation of God. And since your home in your life became so saturated with the light of Hasidus and the holiness of the soul, so it becomes a Beis HaMikdash. Together, it will all attach to the third temple, which will be the main headquarters of the presence of God. And the Rebbe says, very, very nice, that Yashloma, we can see that all sacred buildings from the Jewish people from the entire world, like synagogues, study halls, yeshiva, schools, all of them will become attached to the third temple, and individual homes as well will all be attached. What that means exactly, we'll see. And ultimately, it's all connected to the Holy of Holies, where over there is the founding stone, in which the whole world was created from. And the main thing, this all should happen instantly, now, mamish. Thank you. Let us see the Moshiach now.